Ladies and gentlemen, this morning, as we rise, let us anchor our hearts in the truth of Psalm 91. Whoever dwells in the secret place of the Most High finds rest, protection, and peace. Let your spirit declare, "You are my refuge, my fortress. In you I trust." The Lord promises that no evil shall befall, no plague shall touch. For his angels are commanded concerning you. As you step into this day, speak life over your mind, body, and spirit. Let faith rise in your heart, casting out fear. Your steps are ordered. Your path is covered by divine favor. Speak boldly. Safety, blessing, and supernatural provision are yours. No weapon formed against you shall prosper, and every challenge shall bow to the authority of Christ in your life. Lift your hands and commit your plans, your family, your work, and your health into his hands, declaring that you are under the shadow of the Almighty. Begin your day with praise and thanksgiving, trusting that God's promises are alive, that his protection is real, and that your morning, your afternoon, and your evening are watched over by the one who never sleeps, the one who is faithful to deliver, the one whose mercy endures forever. Let your words be faith-filled, declaring victory, peace, joy, and divine guidance. The Lord is your refuge, your hiding place, your fortress, your protector. No fear, no harm, no confusion shall touch you. Commit your heart, your thoughts, your endeavors into his hands. Walk in boldness, confidence, and supernatural assurance today. Speak aloud the words of Psalm 91 over your life, your loved ones, your home, and your journey, for the Lord is faithful, mighty, and always near. Your day is covered, your life secured, and your spirit renewed. Stand firm in faith, dwell in his presence, and let every step you take radiate the light of his protection, favor, and divine peace. Your morning is blessed, your day is guarded, your life is enriched. Declare it, believe it, and live it in the authority of heaven. Trusting in God's protection is not just a casual thought or a fleeting emotion. It is a deliberate choice, a posture of the heart that positions you under his shadow, where safety, peace, and rest reside. When you declare God as your refuge and fortress, you are acknowledging that your life is not dependent on circumstances, human understanding, or worldly strategies, but on the unwavering faithfulness of the Almighty. To trust in God's protection is to recognize that life is filled with uncertainties, storms that arise unexpectedly, challenges that test your patience, and threats that seem overwhelming. But in all these, there is a divine cover that shields you. This trust is active. It is not passive or theoretical. It requires that you intentionally place yourself in the secret place of the Most High, where the presence of God surrounds you and his angels are dispatched to guard every aspect of your being. The fortress of God is not built by human hands. It is established by his power, and it is impenetrable to anything that seeks to harm, oppress, or intimidate you. To declare God as your refuge is to affirm that you will not rely on your strength, your resources, or your understanding to navigate the complexities of life, but that you will lean wholly on him, believing that his protection is sufficient, his timing perfect, and his strategies flawless. Every time danger arises, whether visible or unseen, Trusting God's protection reminds you that there is a divine hedge around your life, a spiritual perimeter that no weapon can penetrate, no plan of the enemy can breach, and no circumstance can dismantle. The psalmist assures us that those who dwell in the secret place of the Most High are covered by his wings. And under those wings, there is rest, there is peace, and there is absolute security. Trusting God means that when fear attempts to grip your heart, when anxiety whispers, lies about your safety, and when uncertainty clouds your mind, you stand firm, knowing that God's protection is real, tangible, and actively at work. It is a protection that transcends physical boundaries, guarding your mind against destructive thoughts, your spirit against despair, your emotions against turmoil, and your body against harm. When you declare God as your refuge, you are not simply speaking empty words. You are aligning yourself with a divine promise, a covenant truth that has been established for those who seek shelter in Him. This trust allows you to walk boldly in life, to face challenges with confidence, and to act with courage, knowing that the fortress of God cannot be shaken by human schemes or worldly pressures. It also transforms the way you respond to adversity, for when you trust in His protection, you are less likely to panic, more likely to pray, and more prepared to witness the supernatural hand of God in your circumstances. Trusting in God's protection is an ongoing process. It is nurtured by constant meditation on His word, by persistent prayer, and by a life of obedience that keeps you within the boundaries of His safety. Every time you feel vulnerable or exposed, the act of declaring God as your refuge reinforces your faith, strengthens your spirit, and reminds you that your life is held in divine hands. It is not about ignoring reality or pretending danger does not exist. It is about acknowledging a higher reality, a spiritual truth that overrules fear, negates threat, and secures your path. When you consistently declare God as your fortress, you cultivate an inner confidence that no external situation can diminish. Your soul rests in assurance, and your heart finds peace, and your mind is liberated from the chains of worry. The protection of God also carries with it the promise of guidance and deliverance. When you trust Him fully, you are not only safeguarded from harm, but are also led into paths of blessing, favor, and divine opportunity. His fortress provides strategic advantage, spiritual insight, and divine wisdom to navigate life with discernment and clarity. Trusting God's protection teaches you patience, perseverance, and reliance on divine timing. It trains your heart to wait, to hope, and to believe that the unseen hand of God is working for your good, even when circumstances suggest otherwise. It shapes your character, molds your faith, and deepens your intimacy with Him, because a heart that trusts in God's protection is a heart that is dependent on Him, that seeks Him first, and that honors Him in every action. In declaring God as your refuge and fortress, you are making a powerful statement. No matter what comes against you, no matter how strong the opposition, no matter how relentless the trials, your life is hidden in the Almighty. You are acknowledging that every day, every moment, and every step is under His sovereign oversight. The enemy may strategize, calamity may approach, and confusion may rise, but you are stationed in a divine stronghold where fear cannot enter, where chaos cannot prevail, and where the love of God shields you from harm. This trust is not limited to physical safety alone. It extends to emotional security, mental stability, spiritual resilience, and relational peace. God's fortress becomes a sanctuary, a place of refuge where your soul can rest, your mind can be renewed, and your spirit can be strengthened. It is within this fortress that you find clarity of purpose, courage to act, and confidence to fulfill your divine assignment. Trusting in God's protection equips you with discernment to recognize deception, courage to confront opposition, and peace to endure challenges without compromise. It becomes a defining principle in your life, shaping your reactions, influencing your decisions, and guiding your interactions with the world around you. The act of declaring God as your refuge transforms fear into faith, anxiety into assurance, and vulnerability into victory, reinforcing a daily rhythm of dependence, worship, and unwavering trust. Speaking faith-filled words over your day, your family, your health, and your work is not a trivial act. It is a deliberate spiritual discipline that shapes the atmosphere around your life and activates the power of God in ways that cannot be seen with the natural eye. Words are powerful, and when aligned with faith, they become instruments that release divine influence over every circumstance you will encounter. The moment you begin your day, your words carry weight. Speaking life over your morning sets the tone for everything that follows. Declaring God's protection, provision, guidance, and favor is like planting seeds of supernatural influence that will bear fruit throughout the day. It is important to understand that faith-filled words are not mere wishes or casual statements. They are declarations anchored in the promises of God. When you speak over your family, you are inviting divine protection, blessing, and favor into their lives. Each member of your household becomes covered by the authority of your spoken faith, and the angels of God are dispatched to guard, guide, and provide for them according to His will. Speaking over your health is equally powerful. Words of faith counter fear, anxiety, and disease. The Bible teaches that life and death are in the power of the tongue, and by speaking faith-filled declarations, you are aligning yourself with God's promise of life, wholeness, and healing. When you declare that your body is strong, your mind is sound, and your spirit is renewed, you are releasing divine energy that strengthens every cell, restores vitality, and enforces resilience against every form of sickness, weakness, or attack. The words you speak over your work or vocation carry influence over your productivity, creativity, opportunities, and favor. By declaring God's guidance, wisdom, and blessing over your endeavors, you are inviting divine strategies, supernatural insight, and the favor of heaven into your professional life. Faith-filled words turn ordinary moments into divine appointments, challenges into opportunities, and ordinary work into extraordinary results. Speaking faith over your day is also an act of spiritual warfare. The enemy seeks to bring confusion, fear, delay, and failure. But your words of faith act as barriers, stopping attacks before they manifest. When you declare victory, peace, and success over every hour, every meeting, every interaction, and every decision, you are enforcing spiritual authority over your day, creating an environment where God's presence can operate unhindered. It is critical to realize that consistency in speaking faith-filled words amplifies their impact. When you establish a pattern of declaring God's promises, your life becomes saturated with expectation. Your heart grows in confidence, and your spirit becomes tuned to perceive opportunities, guidance, and divine intervention. Faith-filled words also cultivate a positive mindset, a heart of gratitude, and a perspective of hope. They shift your focus from fear, doubt, or limitation to expectation, trust, and anticipation of God's goodness. Speaking over your family, for instance, not only protects them, but also strengthens the bonds of love, unity, and spiritual alignment. The spoken word communicates to your household that God is their source, their guide, and their protector, which fosters an environment of faith and obedience within the home. When it comes to health, speaking faith is transformative. Every positive declaration over your life acts as a shield against discouragement, despair, and negativity. Words of faith increase mental clarity, enhance emotional stability, and reinforce spiritual vitality. You are effectively inviting God's presence to manifest in every part of your being, ensuring that your mind, body, and spirit are aligned with His purpose. Speaking over work or vocation is equally strategic. Faith-filled words shape outcomes, attract favor, and create divine openings that human effort alone cannot achieve. Declaring wisdom, skill, favor, and productivity before starting any task positions you to operate under divine guidance, ensuring excellence, efficiency, and supernatural influence in every area of your professional or personal projects. Faith-filled words also serve as a testimony to those around you. When people hear you speak boldly over your life, family, and work, it communicates trust in God and inspires faith in others. Your declarations act as beacons of hope, reminding others that God's power is accessible and active in the lives of those who believe. Moreover, speaking faith-filled words over your day transforms ordinary routines into intentional acts of devotion and worship. Each declaration is a moment of connection with God, a moment of alignment with His will, and a moment of authority over the forces that oppose your peace, progress, and purpose. The practice of consistently speaking faith-filled words trains your spirit to expect the miraculous, strengthens your confidence in God's promises, and reinforces the reality that your life is governed by divine influence rather than chance, circumstance, or human limitation. It ensures that every area, your health, your family, your work, your relationships, your thoughts, is saturated with the presence and favor of God. Faith-filled words are both a shield and a sword. They protect your mind and emotions while opening pathways for blessings, divine strategies, and breakthroughs. By declaring God's promises aloud, you activate a spiritual principle that aligns heaven with your circumstances, turning potential setbacks into divine setups, obstacles into opportunities, and ordinary moments into extraordinary experiences. The more intentional and consistent you are in speaking faith-filled words, the stronger the spiritual atmosphere becomes around you, influencing your environment, decisions, and interactions. It is not merely a habit, but a lifestyle of expectancy, trust, and deliberate alignment with God's will. Every declaration is an invitation for God's presence to manifest tangibly, for His favor to surround you, and for His protection to cover every aspect of your life. When faith-filled words are spoken, they create a ripple effect that touches not only your life, but also the lives of those around you, multiplying blessings, encouragement, and divine influence exponentially. Your words become instruments of spiritual transformation, shaping realities, shifting atmospheres, and opening doors that human reasoning cannot conceive. Faith-filled declarations over your family, your health, your work, and your day are not merely rituals. They are powerful spiritual actions that connect you to God's supernatural power, ensuring that your life reflects His glory, His protection, His favor, and His abundant provision in every way possible. Believing in divine guidance, favor, and supernatural provision in every step requires a level of faith that moves beyond human understanding and taps into the unsearchable wisdom of God. Life is full of decisions, crossroads, and moments where the direction we take determines the outcomes we experience. But divine guidance assures us that we are never walking alone. When you place your trust in God, you acknowledge that He sees the beginning from the end, that His knowledge surpasses all limitations, and that His plans are perfect. To believe in His guidance is to surrender personal control and to commit your paths into the hands of the one who knows the hidden dangers, the unseen opportunities, and the perfect timing for every event in your life. Every step you take becomes intentional, directed, and guarded when you are in tune with divine instruction. This belief is not passive. It requires attentiveness, sensitivity to the Holy Spirit, and a conscious effort to align your decisions with God's will. Favor operates hand in hand with guidance, for where divine direction is given, God's favor accompanies it. Favor is not merely luck, it is the supernatural alignment of circumstances, people, and opportunities that position you for success. It is the divine assistance that turns ordinary efforts into extraordinary outcomes. To walk under favor is to move in such a way that doors open effortlessly, relationships thrive, and obstacles dissolve before your eyes. Favor ensures that what you touch prospers, that your words carry weight, and that your presence influences situations for good. When you consciously believe in this, every step you take carries a supernatural weight, making your life a testimony of God's goodness and provision. Supernatural provision is another aspect of walking in divine guidance and favor. It is not limited to financial resources alone. It encompasses wisdom, health, opportunities, protection, relationships, and every resource needed to fulfill God's purpose for your life. To believe in supernatural provision is to walk confidently, knowing that God will supply every need according to His riches in glory. It shifts your perspective from scarcity to abundance, from worry to expectation, and from limitation to possibility. Each day becomes a journey of faith, where you rely not on human strength, but on divine sufficiency. When challenges arise, your trust in God's provision allows you to navigate obstacles with creativity, perseverance, and peace. Believing in divine guidance also fosters discernment, helping you recognize which paths to pursue and which to avoid. The Lord instructs, corrects, and directs, and when your heart is sensitive to His voice, you avoid pitfalls, make wise decisions, and align yourself with His perfect timing. Every choice, whether personal or professional, becomes an act of faith, and every decision made under divine guidance carries a measure of success that human planning cannot achieve. Favor and provision amplify the impact of this guidance. With favor, people respond positively to your efforts. Situations bend in your favor, and the doors of opportunity swing open. With supernatural provision, you have the necessary resources to act, to grow, and to accomplish tasks beyond natural ability. The combination of guidance, favor, and provision transforms ordinary life into a divine adventure where every step is purposeful, every encounter meaningful, and every effort fruitful. Belief in these principles is reinforced through scripture, prayer, and the consistent practice of acknowledging God's hand in every aspect of life. The more you meditate on His promises, the more your faith grows, and the more you operate in confidence that divine direction is real and active. Walking in divine guidance requires patience, for God's timing is perfect. Sometimes the direction comes as a whisper, a subtle prompting, or an inner conviction that may seem small, but obedience to that guidance ensures alignment with God's plan. Favor may not always be immediately visible, but faith allows you to move forward, knowing that every hidden arrangement is working on your behalf. Supernatural provision may not arrive in the expected form, but believing ensures that you recognize it when it does and use it wisely. Belief in divine guidance, favor, and provision also fosters humility, for it reminds you that life's outcomes are not solely dependent on your effort, intelligence, or strength. It teaches reliance on God, gratitude for His interventions, and trust in His wisdom. Every step becomes an opportunity to experience His faithfulness, to witness His hand at work, and to share the testimony of His goodness with others. Your life, when led by these principles, becomes a demonstration of the reality that God's ways are higher than human ways, and that His involvement transforms ordinary moments into extraordinary experiences. The commitment to believe in divine guidance encourages you to seek God's counsel consistently, to pray for clarity, and to remain sensitive to His direction in all areas: family, career, relationships, finances, and personal growth. Favor and provision accompany this obedience, ensuring that each step taken in alignment with God's will yields results that reflect His glory. This belief also shapes your mindset, influencing how you respond to setbacks, delays, and opposition. Instead of discouragement, you cultivate patience. Instead of fear, you exercise trust. Instead of confusion, you walk in clarity. It reinforces the understanding that your life is under divine supervision, and that every challenge is an opportunity for God's power to manifest. Believing in divine guidance, favor, And supernatural provision transforms ordinary decisions into acts of faith, ordinary efforts into channels of blessing, and ordinary days into testimonies of God's faithfulness. It is a lifestyle of expectation, reliance, and obedience where every step is covered, every move is directed, and every need is met. Faith in God's guidance ensures that you walk with confidence, integrity, and assurance, knowing that nothing happens by chance, nothing escapes His notice, and every step is orchestrated for your good. Favor amplifies your influence, opens doors, and attracts divine connections, while supernatural provision ensures you have the resources to fulfill every assignment entrusted to you. Together, they create a life of abundance, purpose, and divine alignment, demonstrating the reality of God's active involvement in every step of your journey. Committing your heart and plans to God and walking boldly in His peace and assurance is a profound act of faith that transforms every area of your life. To commit your heart means to surrender your desires, emotions, and motivations fully to God, recognizing that His wisdom far surpasses your understanding and that His plans for you are perfect. It is a daily decision to trust Him with your feelings, your intentions, and the deepest longings of your soul, knowing that He cares about every detail of your life and that He works all things together for your good. When your heart is committed, it becomes a fertile ground for God's peace to dwell, a peace that transcends understanding, that calms fear, and that anchors your spirit amidst the storms of life. Walking boldly in His peace means moving through each day without being hindered by anxiety, doubt, or worry, knowing that God's presence accompanies you and that His authority protects you. It requires courage, faith, and a conscious choice to place confidence in God rather than relying solely on your strength or intellect. Every decision, action, and interaction becomes guided by the assurance that God is in control, that He fights for you, and that His timing is perfect. Committing your plans to God is not merely about asking for His blessing, but actively involving Him in every aspect of your life. It is about presenting your goals, projects, relationships, and dreams to Him, inviting His wisdom, favor, and direction, and trusting that He will bring to pass what aligns with His will. This act of commitment brings clarity, reduces confusion, and ensures that your efforts are not in vain but are directed toward purposes that glorify Him. Boldness in this context does not mean recklessness. It means confidence rooted in the knowledge that God has gone before you, that He strengthens you, and that His peace guards your mind and heart. When you walk boldly, you refuse to be paralyzed by fear, the opinions of others, or the uncertainty of circumstances, and instead you operate with the assurance that God's favor and protection cover your every step. This boldness transforms how you approach challenges, setbacks, and opposition. You no longer operate from a place of desperation or fear, but from a posture of faith, knowing that every obstacle is under God's authority and that every trial is an opportunity for His power to be revealed in your life. The commitment of your heart and plans to God also reshapes your priorities. When God becomes the center of your decision making, Your actions align with his purposes, your intentions become pure, and your efforts yield eternal significance. You begin to evaluate opportunities not merely by their immediate benefits, but by their alignment with his will, ensuring that your life is productive, meaningful, and impactful. Peace and assurance that flow from commitment to God act as stabilizers for your soul. When circumstances are uncertain, when people disappoint, or when situations seem overwhelming, his peace sustains you. It keeps your mind focused, your emotions steady, and your spirit secure, preventing fear, stress, and confusion from controlling your decisions or actions. Walking boldly also affects your influence over others. Confidence rooted in God's peace inspires those around you, encouraging them to trust in his guidance, to act with integrity, and to pursue their own lives with faith. Your example becomes a testimony that God's presence brings stability, clarity, and assurance in a world often marked by chaos and uncertainty. Committing your heart and plans to God involves continual prayer, reflection, and meditation on his word. It requires that you intentionally seek his guidance, remain sensitive to the Holy Spirit, and make decisions that honor him in every sphere of life. Each step taken with this commitment becomes infused with divine purpose and results in outcomes that reflect God's glory and faithfulness. Boldness fueled by his peace allows you to confront situations that others might avoid, to speak truth when it is unpopular, to act with integrity when compromise seems easier, and to persevere when circumstances seem impossible. It is a spiritual courage that emanates from confidence in God's presence and authority, ensuring that you are not swayed by fear, pressure, or uncertainty. This boldness also strengthens resilience. Challenges, disappointments, and unexpected changes do not derail you, but become platforms for growth, faith, and testimony. The assurance that comes from a committed heart reminds you that no circumstance is beyond God's control, that no setback is final, and that his purposes for your life cannot be thwarted. Committing your plans to God transforms your perspective on work, relationships, and personal goals. Each project is pursued with intention, each interaction approached with purpose, and each decision made with accountability to his will. You operate in a rhythm that balances diligence with dependence on God, effort with trust, and planning with surrender. Peace and assurance influence your mental and emotional well-being. When your heart is fully committed, worry diminishes, anxiety loses its grip, and clarity of mind increases. You are able to focus on solutions rather than problems, opportunities rather than obstacles, and hope rather than fear. Walking boldly in this peace allows you to act decisively, respond wisely, and navigate life with confidence, knowing that every move is under divine supervision. The process of committing your heart and plans to God also fosters spiritual growth. It deepens your intimacy with him, strengthens your faith, and develops a character that reflects his patience, wisdom, and love. Each act of obedience, trust, and reliance reinforces the reality of his presence and power in your life. Boldness born from peace is contagious. It impacts your family, friends, colleagues, and community, demonstrating that a life committed to God is one marked by confidence, stability, and influence. Others witness the transformation that occurs when hearts and plans are surrendered, and they are encouraged to seek the same alignment with God. Ultimately, committing your heart and plans to God and walking boldly in His peace and assurance is an ongoing journey. It requires continual dedication, prayerful dependence, and deliberate choices to honor Him in every action. It shapes your character, influences your environment, and positions you to experience God's protection, favor, and provision in every step. It is a pathway to living a life of purpose, confidence, and divine alignment, where peace governs your decisions, assurance strengthens your actions, and boldness defines your interactions with the world around you.